everyone to another episode of Healing for the Soul podcast, where every week I feature different guests to help you become the best version of yourself through different methods you may not have heard of or thought of. Today I have my guest, Marie Scott, on the show talking about love and life after loss. So let's get started. Thank you, Marie, for being here. I really appreciate it.
Hi, Robin. My pleasure.
So, what is your specialty?
So, my mission and purpose for life, part 2, as I affectionately call it, is to help other widows and widowers learn to live well, laugh more, and love again.
That is very much needed. So, who do you like to exactly work with in this population? Is there a certain age group, or is there how do you find, or what do you find is best?
Yes. For me, it's widows and widowers over 50. And a lot of times, if you're an older widow or widower, you think that life is just going to stop and you have no reason to, embrace life again or even move on. And not really move on, but march forward one step at a time. So really my ideal audience for my message is women and men over 50 who have been widowed, and especially if you've been married a long time and you don't know how you're going to ever embrace life again.
That's helpful. I just got the question, like, how long is very long for being married? Me, I'm like thinking 50 years, but
yeah.
How does a person define that for the length? Like, is it like 10 years on up, or?
Yeah, that's a question I haven't had before, but I would think so. For me personally, I was with Dave 30 years, and
That's a long
so
time.
it was a very long time. And he's my great love of my life, and so that was a very long time. And I think for each person, it's different. Somebody could be married for 5 years and think they found their soulmate, and when that passes, then you think there's no hope. There's no hope for moving on, or no reason to live anymore. I hear that a lot. I just don't want to live. I'm just done. And you're just sitting there waiting to die. And Robin, I'll tell you that's not what your spouse would have wanted. It's not what your partner would have wanted, for you to just sit there and wait for your time to be up. It's not what they would have wanted. They would have wanted you to embrace life again. And sometimes I feel like I'm here to give them permission to embrace life again. It's okay to laugh again. And I remember the first time I laughed after Dave died. It was probably 7 or 8 months after, and I laughed, and it was the sound that came out, and I had to do a double take. I thought, what is that noise? It's just so odd coming out of me. And so as time went on, the first year, first and last pass, and I started to, get out into the light a little bit more. I realized that it was time to not only transform my health, but transform my life as well. And, retiring from a technology career of 30 years and becoming a writer. I actually can't believe that my journal that I started as therapy turned into a book.
That's awesome. I like that idea.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of people struggle with writing a book. Well, the writers that I do have contact with, they struggle with that. I'm like, I never thought of that, just like the journal, because it really is something to help. I suppose you could piece it together.
Yes. And it's funny, I was writing down memories because it was very therapeutic, and it helped to laugh again, reliving the memories. And Dave was a firefighter, so the firehouse stories were just hysterical. And so just helping write down memories, and we traveled around the world, was very healing for me. And then after a meditation one day, the chapters started coming to me. And so all of these random notes and Post-its and airplane napkins and notepads of all kinds, I started getting it all organized on a big vision board. And so this journal and all these Post-it notes and napkins turned into the 12 chapters of my book. And so somebody said to me once, sometimes you get writer's block. Everybody thinks they have a book in them, and we all do. And so somebody said to me, I've got writer's block. I can't write. So they said, just pick up your phone, open a note and start talking, because you never have speaker's block.
True. That is very, very, very true.
And so I write these
I'm
notes and
writing that
speak
down.
into my phone and then email it to myself and cut and paste it into the book. It really works.
I am so doing that. I'm just saying, I've been stumped on writing my own book, so I'm like, I like that. I really do. I am definitely doing that, copy and paste from my notes. I love that tip. That is huge.
Yeah.
Before I forget, what is the best way to contact you with the time zone, just in case anybody, isn't able to tune in for the whole podcast, but parts of it?
Yes.
What's the best way for them to reach you?
So I am on Marie Scott Wellness on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and of course, my website is Marie Scott Wellness. It's all branded Marie Scott Wellness. And the great thing is, you'll find links to all the media, many podcasts, and there'll be a link to this as well. And I have a private Facebook group for widows and widowers that I will ask, what is the date of your partner's death, and verify that, so that it is a safe community of like-minded widows and widowers. And that group is called Marie Scott Wellness, Widowhood to Wellness. So that's the private Facebook group if you are actually a widow or widower.
I'm sure our listeners will find that very helpful because, like I said, I know it's one of those things I have not luckily had to have dealt with yet, but I know, like I said a little bit before the show, when my husband's going, I'm just like, not yet, not yet, not yet. Make it to the kids are at least 18. Then we'll talk. But I've been like, I'm just saying. Because I know for a fact I'm one of the women's like, I don't know how I would ever make it without him. I just don't. So I guess that's one of the things that does lead me to one of the questions I have is, who or what inspired you to rebuild your life, part 2?
Yeah, so I was lying on the floor in my sunroom. I laid on the floor a lot after Dave died, and just, looking up the skies. And, this one time I was lying there with open, empty arms, wondering who I was going to take care of now. And the answer came back it came back quickly, you silly. So I began to search for functional medicine doctors, because I had been introduced to it because I was diagnosed with autoimmune disease, which I found out was running rampant through my family. And so I discovered the Living Proof Institute in Toronto. And I flew up there from South Carolina and met my functional medicine doctor, who basically saved my life. Without functional medicine and transforming my health, I'd be diabetic. I'd be suffering from high blood pressure. I'd be severely overweight, bordering obesity, and I'd probably be a raging alcoholic. And just by finding functional medicine and changing my food preferences, I was able to shed 30 pounds I've been carrying around for 20 years. So simply by changing what I ate, and it was amazing. They made this Italian girl give up pasta and tomatoes. So learned a lot about nutrition, and what happened when my health transformed. It helped the widow fog lift and helped my energy go through the roof, and began to realize there's power in what you eat. It's incredible. And so once that happened, I remember I got this email one day, become a functional medicine health coach. And I thought, this is perfect. I've been a lifelong learner, and I thought, I'm going to go back to school to learn more about food and nutrition, because Dave died from esophageal cancer. And I know there's a link between food and cancer. And then my mom passed away the same year, and she died of Alzheimer's. And there's definitely a link between food and Alzheimer's. And so I thought I was just going to go back and learn more about how I might have been able to save Dave. Knowing it was too late for him, but I could save myself. So I went back to school, and this incredible process of a year being coached and coaching others led me to realize that this book was the first step in my life transformation, finishing the book and then becoming a wellness coach to get the word out to other widows and widowers. It's possible to live well by eating well and organic foods, and you can laugh more. Lots of ways you can surround yourself with positivity and help you laugh again, and then perhaps even find love again. And it's funny, when my body healed and my heart and mind healed, my heart opened, and in walked Jeff. And never in a million years would I have dreamed I'd have a second great love of my life, let alone get married ever again. So it's been an amazing life and health transformation.
That's awesome. So how long have you and Jeff been married now?
2 months.
That's awesome.
Yep. He proposed to me on a Zoom call on our 1 year anniversary. And it was totally unexpected because, for we've been attached since we first met, and it was the best quarantine ever. And it threw us together. I flew up to see him for 1 week and thought, I'll just, go see Jeff. My trip to London got canceled. I was supposed to speak at a coaching academy conference. And so that got canceled the day the world shut down. And I said, I'll just go see Jeff for a week. So I show up in Franklin, Maine, outside of Bar Harbor, with my snakeskin boots on and my raincoat. Well, I didn't get out of Maine for 2.5 months. And so I really feel that if it wasn't for COVID, we wouldn't be together, because I was living in Sarasota, and that's where I met Jeff, on the dance floor. And he was in, remote Maine. And so we were thrown together and kept together by this little pandemic that hit the world. So it's the best quarantine ever. In fact, there's a chapter in the book called A Corona Love Story.
I love it. I love it even more because I bet it doesn't involve the alcohol corona either. That is awesome. I'm glad that you shared that story, because I'm like, so many other people are talking like all the negative stuff, and I'm like, I just want to find one positive story other than my own. So I'm very glad that you shared that story, because it's like, yeah, you were like the 2.5 months you said?
Yes.
That's awesome.
It was funny. Jeff had a motorhome that he had on the market. And I, after a couple months, I said, well, I want to keep that. That might be the only way we get back to Florida. And sure enough, it was the only way. So 2.5 months later, we hopped in the motorhome and headed south. And we took about 4 or 5 days. And I called it the Meet the Family Tour, because the first stop was to meet his mother outside of Portland, Maine. And then we met my family in upstate New York, in Rochester. Then we went to South Carolina and met all my friends, where I spent 20 years with my late husband. And then we went to Florida to meet his sister. So it was the Meet the Family Tour.
My internet cut out. I'm sorry.
It did. I saw that.
I've not had that issue yet. I'm sorry. This is one of those loves of technology.
I know. So I can start that story again.
Yes, because the last part that I got was that you were, you told not to sell the motorhome, and it was your only way to get to Florida.
Yes, and it was. And I call it the Meet the Family Tour. So we hopped in the motorhome, got an oil change, and then the first stop was to meet his mother at lunch. And then a beautiful connection. Then we went to Rochester to meet my whole family, which is pretty big, 8 brothers and sisters. And everybody's like, who's this guy, Jeff? Who's this guy? Who's it? So they all approved. And then we drove to Somerville and spent 3 or 4 days in the community where I lived for 20 years with my late husband. And then we headed to Daytona Beach and met his sister. She lives outside in Flagler Beach. And then we came to my condo in Sarasota. So yeah, 2.5 months later, we finally got back from Maine to Florida. And so I bought the last parka that Walmart had. And my friend Cindy would call me and say, I've become a Carhartt girl, mud boots. And in fact, that's the name of the 5th book, High Heels to Mud Boots. And so we had an amazing adventure. Every day is like we wake up smiling and laughing. And it's been just an amazing connection, and brought together even closer by Corona, the little pandemic.
That's awesome. I love that. So then how did he propose to you over Zoom? That's what got me thinking. Like, how did that work?
So a couple months before our 1 year anniversary, Jeff kept saying, I want your brothers to come to Florida and come golfing with us to celebrate our 1 year. I saw, oh, that's really cool. That's because he loves my brothers and mutual. And so that's really cool. And of course, as the pandemic wore on, they couldn't get out of New York. So then as the months wore on, he maybe a week before, 2 weeks before our anniversary, we used to kid each other. I said, people asked us, are you married? Just like, now we're as good as married anyway, because we're so close. And everybody we'd meet would call us husband and wife anyway. So I didn't think a thing of it. So the 1 year anniversary is approaching, and Jeffrey, who is a forester, cuts trees down and hardwood and makes furniture, is amazing, amazing man, says to me, honey, set me up on Zoom. I thought, okay. He has no sense of technology at all. And so, okay, well, what do you want to do? He goes, let's have a happy hour for our anniversary. I said, okay, well, who do you want to invite? Well, let's invite your brothers. And so my business person comes out of me and says, well, what do you want the agenda to be? Do you want this to be just a cheers to us? And, that's it. He goes, yeah. I said, well, then what about my sister? He goes, okay, you invite your sister. I'll invite my sister. He invites his best friend. And I'll invite my best friend, Ann, from Vancouver. And we're going to invite my mom. And so we get the cousins. We get this connection of people from all over US and Canada, all get on a Zoom call, happy hour. We went to Orlando because Jeff wanted to go somewhere different. We're at our table in the condo, and we turn each other a glass of Camus and cheers, honey, happy anniversary. And my brother's baking cookies at the time, and he's crazy. He had his laptop in the dishwasher at one point. So you saw this tower of metal, looked like a sculpture. So Jeffrey, he's sitting next to me, and he says, Rich, where are you? I want to see your face, and I want to pop the question. And I'm thinking, pop what question? What kind of cookies do you want Rich to make you? What question? So Rich gets his face on the screen. My brother Mike's with him. And Jeffrey turns to me and says, Marie, will you marry me? And Niagara Falls, the tears start flowing. And he takes this beautiful ring off of his necklace. I didn't even notice, never noticed. And he puts it on my finger. And I was just like, I said, I was totally shocked. And after about 30 seconds, somebody yelled, I don't even know who. Did she say yes? I said yes, over and over. It was incredible. The best.
That is awesome. I love that story. That's awesome. Oh, it's always like you find like the one person who knows how to do the internet and the other one who doesn't, but they still manage to surprise you anyway, which is awesome.
I know. And then our marriage, we got married outside of Bar Harbor, or in Bar Harbor actually, and all my family came up, and all of his friends and family from Maine and areas in the Northeast. We all came, and Jeff said to me one day, he said, honey, we should have a camo wedding. And I thought to myself, that's perfect, because Jeff's an avid hunter. I said, that's a perfect idea. So we requested everyone to wear a piece of camo. And so they did. I had a camo wedding dress. Jeffrey had a beautiful camo wedding formal vest and orange bow tie. It was hysterical. My brothers come out in full ghillie suits. And if you don't know what a ghillie suit is, it's a big, makes you look like a bush. And here they are standing at this elegant Bar Harbor club in these, they look like trees, bushes, and they're walking. I was hysterical. And so here I am walking down the aisle at the Bar Harbor club, and Jeffrey, somebody says, look at Jeff. He's got his camera out at the altar waiting for me to walk down. And he was hysterical. My brothers, that set the stage for the entire night.
I bet that did. So that's definitely a wedding that no one would ever forget.
Exactly.
And then all the people that were there too, I'm sure. They're like,
yes,
what the?
yes.
This must be some sort of... Yeah, that's awesome. I love that. It's definitely different than the typical weddings of the whole song, and you go down the aisle, and
Yeah, yeah.
there's no laughing. This would be a good one. I don't know how I'd keep it all together, but it does definitely sound like it is possible to find love again, especially after loss.
It is. It really is. And my friend Lee said to me, and he knew Dave as well. He said, "How do you rate?" He goes, "You have one great love of your life," and Dave and I really, really did. And now you've got another one. He goes, "Some of us don't get one."
That's true. I've met a lot of people that don't even get one.
Yeah. But I think, once you heal yourself from the inside and once you have this positive mindset and your heart opens and it allowed love to come in again. So I'm very, very thankful and my heart is bursting with joy that I am where I am at this stage in my life.
That's awesome. I always love like good stories. This is like you don't even need Hallmark Channel right now. I'm just like this is the stories enough for like a Hallmark. And like you got the Zoom proposal, you got the wedding, you got like the whole Hallmark setup.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody said that you should be a Hallmark movie, and oh, it's just so much fun. It's so much fun, just with the business launching, and so anxious to get the word out, and the book has really helped everybody who's read it. It's like, wow, this is amazing. You've given me hope, and really, that's what my purpose in life is to give hope, to bring hope to a situation that is darker than anything you can imagine. When I lost Dave, I never thought I cried so much in my life. I didn't know where all these tears were coming from at the weirdest moments. They would just grab you and throw you to the ground. So overcoming that tremendous grief and healing has been a monumental uh, accomplishment for me. And it never goes away. I mean, it never goes away and it's right there on the surface, but the grief has become calmer. It's become more of a companion instead of a boulder sitting on your head weighing you down. So, and Jeff is amazing. He wants me to keep Scott as my middle name to honor Dave. So he's just amazing. He allows me to speak about him all the time, and I do on social media. And because without 30 years with Dave, I wouldn't be the woman that I am today. Because we joke, what
That
would have
is very
happened
true.
if we would have met 20 years ago? And he says, I wouldn't be as mature as I am with all the relationships I went through after he divorced, and you wouldn't be the woman you are today. So we're in the perfect place at the perfect time.
That's very true. It's always that perfect timing.
Yeah.
It's that saying about God how he is generally never early, he's never late, but he's always right on time. And it's like, it's never our time. I'm just saying. Well, at least we think that it's not our time. But then when we look back, like what you
Yeah.
just said, for about you being with Dave for 30 years, you would have never, if you had been with Jeff, it would have been a completely different story that could
Yeah.
have turned out. But it was just the right timing.
Yes.
And you got the perfect Zoom proposal.
I know. I know. And I think,
It's like the perfect love
my
story.
my friend Brooke calls them God winks, and I really think it was a God wink from Dave that I landed on that dance floor because my friend didn't show up, and I was eating dinner, and Jeff was there. Was working on a construction project on a beach resort, and I think it was a God wink from Dave that put us on that dance floor together, and we haven't stopped dancing since. So amazing love story.
That is awesome. I love that. So, then, what advice to get this healing do you find most helpful for people experiencing this grief after the loss?
The biggest thing, many people ask me because I've gone through it. What do you say to a friend who's lost a long time husband? What do you say to your friend that's from college and they lost their husband? And my response is, because people don't know what to say to a widow or widower, and it's like say nothing, just be there, be present, and you can't fix it, and there are no words. So if you are just there, the presence of a friend is incredible. I mean, some of my friends knew exactly when to come over. Like I almost burned the house down on Christmas Eve one night and I was just overcome with emotion. There's nobody there to fix it. And we did find neighborhood guys that, it literally almost burned the house down. And
Oh,
so got
wow.
help from neighbors. And so when they left and I just had a meltdown and I was in the kitchen and my friend Cindy comes over, knocks on the door, opens the door, didn't say a word, gave me a great big hug. We had a lot of tears together, and she basically took over, finished the food I was preparing to take to friends for Christmas Eve, and she didn't say a word. She was just there and present for me. That's the biggest gift you can do. Don't forget your friends because your widowed friends because you don't know what to say to them. Just say nothing. Just be there. And just one day I came out and my lawn was mowed, and it's just the little things that are not you have to be visible, and bringing over a meal. So those are some of the things that were most powerful for me in the beginning. And then what I found is I had too many memories in the community where I lived, and it was all couples and children and memories from Dave. And I thought, I just up and went to Florida. I thought I'll just spend a couple months. I had an Airbnb and then finally I said, what are you waiting for? I packed everything up and sold my house in Somerville, moved to Sarasota and started a brand new life, new friends. And the thing I can recommend is there's this group called Meet Up, and you can go to
Oh,
meetup.com. And I actually
mhm.
started a Meet Up group in South Carolina called Widowhood Sucks, especially after 50. And I got up to 100 members in that, but they're all vetted widows and widowers. We would get together and have dinner. People would tell their stories. Everybody's at different stages, but find a community of like minded widows and widowers, and that will help you tremendously. There's nowhere else you can go for advice or just to rant. And one of those groups is my private group, Widowhood to Wellness. So if you feel like engaging and just venting and talking with other like-minded widows and widowers, that's a great way to do it.
I love all this. And that's great that you have that for the reference for the meetup, you
Yeah.
know, and then also for people to find you on the website, or not just the website, but also the Facebook page and group as
Yes.
well, because I know that helps a lot of people to just to have that deeper connection, like when you talk with other people.
Mhm. Yeah.
I suppose I suppose I know that it would make it a lot easier to be able to cope with the loss, especially
Yes.
like the different stages. Because I'm sure there's a lot of, like you said in the beginning, there's just the crying and the
Yeah.
just laying there.
Yep. And the other variable that it depends on how long you've had to process the fact that your spouse was nearing the end of his life. And Dave and I had 6 months, we knew. And so we had 6 months, and he was more concerned about me and what I was going to do, more so than he was concerned about his imminent mortality. So it was very, very powerful. He took his last breath in my arms at home in bed, and it was the most beautiful and the most devastating minute of my life, and I'll never forget it. So just to be able to take care of him and process and help him, every day meant a lot to me and something I'll always treasure. But some widows have spent 7, 8, 10 years taking care of being a caregiver, and that's draining. I remember taking care of my
Mhm.
mom. It's draining. So it depends on what and then there's the tragic sudden deaths, and then there's the COVID deaths, all different kind of situations to process, and everybody's different.
That's true. I've often wondered like what would be harder to like know that the person only has a
Mhm.
limited amount of time, or to know, that it's just they're just up and gone.
Yeah,
And to me, I'm like, I think either one would be harder, but at least if you know ahead of time, you can at least treasure the moments more, if that makes sense.
yeah, yeah,
Because I know, like, that's one of my biggest things. I always tell my husband all the time, I'm like, this is how we're supposed to die. You die, Then 2 minutes later, for sure, you're dead. You're not coming back. Then it's my turn because I don't want to be away from you forever. So that's what I told him. I says, that's our plan. That's why I'm like, current situation, I'm like, don't need
Yeah.
it now. Because it's like,
Yeah.
I just want to, make sure because I don't know what I would do, afterwards.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to experience that yet, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things that we all unfortunately do get to experience,
Yes.
at
And
some
it's not
point.
up to us.
No, it's not. Because that's why I'm like, you tell God your plans and he just laughs. That's why I know like my 2 minutes for sure after my husband's dead. I know that plan's just gonna be laughed out.
Yep. Nice try.
Yeah. This has been a very fun conversation, even though it's one of those topics that's also hard to discuss. So I do appreciate that very much.
My pleasure.
And one more time, Marie, just so that everybody can get in contact with you for
Yes.
your contact info.
Yes. So all across social media, Marie Scott Wellness, and the widowhood group is Marie Scott Wellness, Widowhood to Wellness, and the book is called How I Found Meaning and Humor in Widowhood, Firehouses, and Organic Vegetables. And this is where you'll find more about the 7 steps to healing after loss. And another book that I contributed to uh, called Wellness Wisdom, and this actually hit bestseller status 2 weeks before
That's
my
awesome.
book was published. Yeah, this is amazing, but it's all kinds of tips on functional medicine. What is functional medicine, and why is it different, and so it's all about wellness. And the only good thing about my family health history is that longevity runs in it. So I want to make sure that I'm still golfing at 100, and well and healthy and with sound and no prescription meds. That's my goal.
That is awesome. That is an amazing goal to have because I don't know if you've heard of heart math or not, but
I have,
I
yeah.
know I was amazed when I had learned that the heart can live for 100 years. It can function without anything being done to it. But yet so many people are unaware that it's 100% the diets other
Yes.
than the mindset that causes the disease and the
You have
illnesses.
no idea. I've learned so much in the past 3 years. It's mind boggling, and it's scary. And the thing with cancer is sugar feeds cancer, period. And Alzheimer's, they found links between aluminum and I have autoimmune diseases running through my family. In fact, my brother George passed away of ALS. I never even knew that was an autoimmune disease. My sister's got celiac. My brother's hypothyroid. My sister got breast cancer. And I was going down that same path with all the meds I was on, and including pre-diabetic. And just by changing my diet, I've reversed everything. Incredible energy, and feel stronger than I did like I was 15 years ago.
Wow. Is that in the wellness book that you showed there?
Yes, yes. So
You put
wellness
up
wisdom is
wellness
called,
wisdom. Okay.
yeah, and the chapter I wrote in that is called "The Ashes Are Scattered, Now Past the Asparagus."
Thank you.
So, and that talks about the steps to healing as well, and how powerful food is to making you as healthy as you can be without prescription meds.
That is good to know because that's one of the things that I'm just like now understanding how food really does affect us. It can make us
Yeah,
sick
yeah, that's
or
for
it can
sure.
make us healthy.
Yeah. So, in simple health tips or food tips that I'll be teaching at the resort, the retreat as well, is I try not to eat anything out of a box, and so everything in a box is processed.
That's true. I've heard that once before, and that does make sense though. Is
Yeah.
that because I wouldn't necessarily go for cans because there's canned vegetables and there's canned fruit.
Right. And be careful of the kind of can that it's in to make sure that the cans isn't leaching toxins from the aluminum.
Oh, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
Now you got me curious. Like, okay, now we're gonna. Yes, that most definitely on that one. Well,
Yeah.
I appreciate it so much, Marie. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it, and I'm sure our audience does too.
My
So
pleasure.
Thank you. And one more time, this is Robin Stoltman, Healing for the Soul podcast. And